So hello guys. I hope my voice is audible properly. Let's just check. Okay, so we'll just wait for a few more people, like everyone, to join quickly so that we can just start with our today's topic. Actually, yeah. So first of all, myself, Sanjeev Das, and I'm going to teach you your today's topic. Actually, hello guys. Welcome to Letstute. So myself, Sanjeev Das, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, then do subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon. There will be a small bell icon over there. Just press it so that you get the notifications on all time and you're just updated with whatever we are doing. And there's a lot of courses actually. And you can also check our website actually. So we have a website that is. So video is not clear. Okay, let me just check. Let me just check with the internet connection. Wait, now, I feel it should be proper now. So yeah, Vemi Reddy, yeah, hello, Manjunath, yeah. Hi Manjunath, hello Vemi Reddy. A very good evening to each and everyone. Today is we are going to discuss a very important chapter actually, and this is one of my favorite chapter actually, because it's full of stories and how everything was discovered, how the story flows. We'll just go through it, and it's actually very amazing. I'll just present the title of today's topic, and today we are going to study about structure of atoms, and this is indeed a very important and a great chapter. It is related to about history actually, how everything was discovered and all, and we are going to enjoy it, of course. So let's wait for everyone. Come on, as this is a very important chapter, we will wait for everyone. Video is not clear. Hello, sir. Okay. Yep. So yep, no worries, guys. We will check that thing. Don't worry about that. I'll just do something about it. Okay. We'll just wait for a few more people to join. This is indeed an important chapter. Don't worry about it. Yep. So I hope now it's clear, guys. You can just type it in the chat box if it's clear or not. Yep. No, no, no. Today we are just going to cover a small part of this topic. You will have to be tuned with us. You will have to stay with us. We will have many live sessions on this topic in this structure of atoms, because this is a very important topic and we have to understand it from basic actually. So we will revise, actually not revise, we will just recollect the theories which we have learned in the previous chapter, that is atoms and molecules. Okay, so good evening everyone. Hello guys, let me just read the chat box actually. Yeah, you can just type it in the chat box if it's clear. Okay guys. Yeah, so let's just read the chat box for a few minutes. Yeah. Okay, so let me just start with today's topic actually. So in today's topic, structure of atoms, we are going to cover the introduction of structure to atom. Like, why was there a need to find the structure of atom, and what are charges in atoms? So these two are the important things which we are going to cover. Okay, so let's quickly start with today's topic. So introduction to structure of atoms, First thing is, we know that atoms are the building block of matter. This we have studied in our previous chapter. It was about that atoms are the building block of matter and atoms cannot be divided further. We know that atoms are indivisible, they cannot be divided further. And this was studied in Dalton's atomic theory. So this was the person Dalton. He was John Dalton, and Dalton was the one to say that was to give the theory that atoms are the building block of matter and atoms cannot be divided further. Yeah, good evening, guys. So we are trying to understand why was there a need of structure of atoms. So as we know from his theory that atoms are the building block of matter, atoms cannot be divided further. But we know that atoms are neutral. So according to Dalton's atomic theory, we know that atoms should be neutral. But to understand more about this atom, we can just aggregate all the atoms together and we can just study about matter. So let us try to understand what are the various things about matter. So if we can just find out through matters, like we found out that there were certain properties in matter. Like suppose if you take a comb, if you try to rub it on your hair, okay, so if you take a comb, if you try to rub it on your hair and then you take it over paper, bits of paper, okay, so you'll just notice that the papers are getting attracted towards the comb. Now what does neutral mean? Neutral means there's no charge. Actually, when we ready, this is for you. Neutral means no charge. So there's neither positive, it's neither negative, it's neutral. Okay, so this was about the comb which we studied. The next thing is about a balloon. If you take a balloon and if you try to rub it on a woolen cloth, okay, so if you try to rub it on a sweater or if you try to rub it on a woolen cloth, you will notice that if you release the balloon, it will stick to the wall. This must have happened during a party. You must have noticed during a party that the balloons are sticking to the wall. So why did this happen? Or maybe a very great example, actually, this I have actually performed and this does happen. So if you take a comb, if you rub it on your hair and if you bring it close to a stream of water, like this water, falling water, and if you bring it close to it, so the water automatically bends. I don't know if you can just try this thing. You can just try this thing at your home. So the water actually bends. So this is very interesting. So how is it possible? How everything is possible? As it is quoted, how is it possible? Because we know that atoms are neutral. Please try to understand this. Atoms are neutral, but if we try to aggregate all the atoms together and we get matter, and we can notice that there are some kind of charges present in this matter. Of course, understand this. If atoms are neutral and atoms, if we aggregate all the atoms, we get matter, and matter contains some kind of charge. So why does this happen? Exactly, why does this happen? So we should say na ki matter doesn't have any charge. So to study more about that, we found out that of course atoms do contain some kind of charges, therefore matter contains some kind of charges. Okay, so understand this thing very properly. Yes, understand this thing very properly, that atoms do contain some amount, some kind of charges. There are charges present in atoms, but we are not able to understand it. Why we are not able to understand it? Because for scientists for a long time believe that atoms are neutral, and of course atoms are neutral. Why are atoms neutral? We will understand that. But in 1900, that is in 19,000, subatomic particles were discovered of the atoms. Okay, there are subatomic particles of atom, and they were discovered till 19,000. Okay, 1900, till there it was, everything was discovered. So let's try to understand how each and everything were discovered. We know that there are three subatomic particles. One is electron, one is proton, and the third one is neutron. And please try to understand this. Electrons are negatively charged, protons are positively charged, and neutrons are neutral. Okay, so these are the three subatomic particles of atom, and all these three were discovered till 19,000. Okay, now let's try to understand how electrons were discovered, or maybe who discovered these electrons, how were they discovered actually. So there was an amazing experiment performed by JJ Thomson actually. So JJ Thomson was the one to discover about electrons. This is very important. Please try to understand this very carefully, and this is very interesting actually. So how everything happened. So first, scientists thought that atoms are neutral. Okay, they do not contain any charges. But one experiment performed by JJ Thomson shook the whole world actually, the whole science community, because he proved that atom contains some kind of charge, and those electrons are negatively charged. It contains negative charge. So what was the experiment performed by JJ Thomson? What was the experiment he performed? So for to understand his experiment, it was known as cathode ray experiment. So it was known as cathode rays. Yeah. So this was a glass tube which he took. So some apparatus were required. Okay. Who discovered? Okay, electron was discovered by JJ Thomson. I hope when we ready you got your answer. So cathode rays. So cathode rays was the experiment performed by JJ Thomson. This is the name of the experiment actually, and he discovered electrons. So for first, he took a glass tube. Okay, so this is a glass tube, and he created vacuum inside it. So it was all the air from it. It was taken out. So it was vacuumed. Now he carefully placed two metal sheets actually. He placed inside the glass tube, and he connected a wire through them. So these are the metal sheets, these are the metals which he used, and he connected them with the wire. Now there is a small battery in between both the metal sheets. Between both the metal sheets and the wire, there is a battery. Now you can just see that one side is positive and the other side is negative. So understand and hear this please carefully, that the negative part, whichever is the negative part, so as so the negative terminal of the battery is connected to a metal sheet, and that metal sheet is nothing but negative, and negative metal sheet is called as cathode. Okay, so understand this. The negative part is cathode and the positive part is anode. Okay, so these are the two sheets which were used. It is connected to a battery which is high voltage battery. Understand this, it is a high voltage battery. Now, what was the next thing he did? He just switched on the current. But understand this thing very carefully, that there was a hole in the center of the anode. Okay, in center of the anode there was a hole. So what did happen when he switched on the current? Some some rays. Okay, so let me just denote the rays. So some rays from cathode. So the negative sheet is called cathode. So some rays from cathode passed from the anode, actually the hole in between of the anode, and it passed through it. Now why you are not able to see it? Because the rays were invisible. Okay, the rays were invisible, therefore we were not able to see it. So JJ Thomson is actually very smart. He placed a screen behind the anode. So behind the anode he placed a screen. So whenever the particles used to strike the screen used to glow. And this is how he got to know that some kind of rays are passing from cathode towards the anode and striking on the screen. Okay, so vacuum. Okay, so vacuum, what does vacuum mean? That means simply you have just taken all the air from the glass tube. Okay, vacuum simply means you have just taken all the air out of the glass tube, and it's vacuum, nothing is present inside it. Okay, so the electrons, the negative charged particles from the cathode, traveled towards the positive side, and it passed through the hole in between of the cathode, and it struck the screen. So this is how electrons were discovered. Okay, so this is how electrons were discovered by JJ Thomson. And how did he get to know that the rays passing through it were negatively charged? Because he performed some kind of experiment. He just use some kind of electric fields to check what is the charge of that particle or what is the charge of the rays passing. So he found out that the rays passing were negative charged, and he named those particles as negative charge as electrons. So this was how electrons were discovered. So let us try to understand this whole experiment once again, because it's kind of complicated. So let me just start once again. So J.J. Thomson was the one who discovered electrons. The experiment is known as cathode rays. He just placed a glass tube and it was vacuumed. So it was vacuumed and it is connected. Two metal sheets are placed carefully inside it. The anode, the sheet which is connected to the positive terminal. Now what are terminals in battery? We have two terminals, that is one positive terminal and one negative terminal. So this sheet, the metal sheet which is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode, and the sheet which is connected to the positive terminal is called anode. So the anode had a hole in it between. Okay, so all the rays, all the particles, all the electrons from the cathode passed through the hole and striked on the screen. And every time the particles used to strike on the screen, it used to glow. This is how we got to know that some kind of rays are passing and striking on the screen. So this was the whole experiment which he performed. This experiment was performed by J.J. Thomson. Of course you can perform these experiments again. Yes, Vemi Reddy, of course you can perform these experiments, but you should have the required apparatus. All these conditions you have to satisfy. You have to satisfy the vacuum condition. You have to have two cathode and anode ray, cathode and anode. You should have metal sheets, cathode and anode, and it should have a hole in between. You should have a screen which can glow, and these are the wires, and a high voltage which you should have. And of course you can perform these experiments. Okay, so this was about electrons. Yeah. So Sir J.J. Thomson was the one who discovered electrons. Please remember, J.J. Thomson was the one who discovered electrons, but not other subatomic particles. The other subatomic particles are discovered by other scientists actually. So J.J. Thomson was the one. He just put forward that atoms contain electrons in them. So scientists were completely confused actually. So understand the story actually. Yeah. So in many years ago, scientists used to believe that atoms are neutral. Now, suddenly a scientist comes and says that atom contains negative charge in them. So, won't it be confusing that atoms are the neutral? Then how can it have negative charge? Now, the scientists were actually very smart. If they started questioning that if atom has negative charge, please try to understand this. If atoms have negative charge, it must have some positive charge also. Okay, so if atoms have negative charge, it must have some positive charge also. So it may have some positive charge also. So there were many experiments performed by many scientists, but Goldstein was the one. Goldstein was the one to successfully perform an experiment and find the positive charge. Okay, find the positive charge in atoms, and he named those particles, or the subatomic particles, as protons. Okay, and the name of the experiment, okay, and the name of the experiment was anode rays. So the rays passing from cathode were cathode rays. So ultimately we can just understand through the name that rays passing from anode will be anode rays, of course. So this was two metal sheets inside it. So one was cathode and one was anode. So how to distinguish between which is anode and which is cathode? It's very, very simple. Just connect it through a wire and just make sure you have a high voltage battery. Okay, so you should have a high voltage battery. The negative terminal, the metal sheet which is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode, and the positive, and the sheet which is connected to the positive terminal is called anode. Okay, so these were the two things. So this is negative and this is positive. Now, a very important thing which was performed by Goldstein, that he took a sheet, he took a cathode sheet which had hole in them. Okay, so this time anode wasn't having holes, cathode is having hole. Okay, cathode is having hole in it, of course. So, but before explaining the whole thing, actually, before explaining this whole experiment, I just want to say you guys that you can just find all these videos about this, all these videos. We have amazing videos on our website. Let me just tell you about the website. We have www.letstute.com. This is a website, and you can find some amazing videos over there related to science as well as math. You can just find the link in the description box also. And if you're new to this channel, then please do subscribe to our channel. Okay, so for the atom relativity relative features, okay, and is proton is positive and neutron is neutral. Yes, of course, Rabin. Yeah, Rabin, proton is positive and neutrons are neutral. Of course, we will understand about neutrons in further sessions actually, but today we will learn about what are charges, and charges simply means that it has some kind of charge, that is negative or it has positive. Okay, so that was about it. Let's just try to understand this whole experiment. So in this experiment, Goldstein had a metal sheet, two metal sheets. The cathode had hole in it, of course, and then when the voltage was passed or the electricity was on, the high voltage. So we know that some kind of rays pass from negative cathode to positive anode. So these are the electrons which are passing from the cathode towards the anode. But Goldstein noticed that some kind of rays is passing through the positive anode towards the cathode also. So these were some rays which were passing through the cathode. The cathode had hole in it, of course. So the rays were passing through the cathode and it struck the screen. Of course, now Goldstein is also smart. Even he placed a screen which used to glow when some particles used to strike it. Okay, so Goldstein performed this experiment and cathode had hole in it. So these are the rays which are passing from it and striking the screen. Okay, so now Goldstein was confused actually whether these particles which are passing are really positive particles or they are just electrons which are coming back towards the screen. Okay, so to understand this thing, he placed a external force. He placed an external negative charged metal plate. So this yellow color thing is nothing but negatively charged metal plate. So now what did happen? Now what happened? So these rays which were passing through the cathode and striking the screen, now they are moving towards this negatively charged plate. So these rays were some kind like this. It was just sticking towards the negative part, negative plate. So Goldstein got to know that these particles are indeed positive particles, and he named them as protons. So so this is nothing but anode rays. I hope you got this experiment properly. Yeah. So let's try to understand these things actually. So this was about, we talked about that neutral, that atom is really neutral. And so if it had negative electrons, it may have something positive, and the positive charge is known as proton. So now let's try to understand something about these charged particles. Okay. So negative electrons are negative, positive electrons are positive, protons are positive. So they have different charges which are equal in magnitude but opposite in size. So these charges are equal in magnitude. Now what is magnitude? Magnitude is nothing but the unit which they have. So these are the charges which are equal in magnitude but opposite in size, opposite in charge. So opposite in signs actually. The charges are different. So this is positive and this is negative. Now further experiments were made and it was found that the proton is actually 20 times heavier than electron. Please try to mark this number very carefully. It can be asked in your MCQs that protons are actually 20,000 times of the electrons. Okay, so I hope you got this whole session properly. Let us try to revise everything, whatever we have learned in this session. So let's try to understand everything properly. Okay, so why was the need to study about structure of atoms? So atoms are the building block of matter, which we have studied in Dalton's atomic theory. Atoms cannot be divided further, of course, and and this was everything was stated in Dalton's atomic theory, and this is Dalton. Okay, so now Dalton stated that atoms are neutral, and scientists also used to believe that for a long amount of time that atoms are actually neutral. But if we try to aggregate all the atoms together, and we notice some weird things in matter actually. So matter contains some kind of charges. So if you try to take a comb and if you rub it on your hair, and if you take it close to a bit of paper, the paper gets attracted towards it. So this balloon thing actually must have happened in parties actually, but you must have not noticed it. So next time you visit a party, you can just notice this thing, or you can just perform all these experiments in your home also. So you can perform this comb wala experiment, you can perform this balloon experiment, and also this experiment. You just take a comb, you just rub it on your hair, and you place it towards the falling water, the stream of water. You will notice that the water is bending, and this is an amazing experiment which you can try. So how is it possible? Because we have discussed that atoms are neutral, so ultimately the matter should also be neutral. So if matters are showing some kind of charges in them, so atoms ultimately should contain some kind of charges in them. So further experiments were made, but for a long time, scientists believe that atoms are neutral. But till 19,000, all the subatomic particles were discovered. J.J. Thomson was the first one to discover electrons. Please try to understand. J.J. Thomson was the first one to discover electrons, and he performed an experiment which is known as cathode ray, in which he took a glass tube. He placed two metal plates inside it, but of course it was vacuumed. Okay, so he placed two metal plates inside it, and he passed a wire through them. The wire is connected to a battery, a high voltage battery. The positive side, the sheet which is connected to the positive terminal is called anode, and the sheet which is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode. Anode had hole in it, so you can just notice over here that it has hole in it. So when electricity was passed, all the electrons from cathode passed through the anode and strike to the screen. And whenever the particles used to strike the screen, it used to glow. So this is how J.J. Thomson got to know that some kind of particles are passing from it and striking the screen. But he was confused actually what is the charge of this particle. So he performed certain more experiments. He passed some electrical fields around it, and he got to know that these charged particles are actually negative charge particles, and he named them as electrons. So atom contains electrons in them. So of course now scientists were really very confused because the particles are actually neutral. Plates. Okay, it's plates actually. Plates or sheets. You can call it plates also. Okay, you can call them plates also. Plates and plates, metal sheets. It's one and the same actually. So it's made up of metals. Okay, when we ready, I hope your doubt is clear. So those were metal plates or metal sheets. So now the scientists were very confused that we have studied that atom is neutral, then how can atom contain negative charge? So if atom contains some kind of negative charges, it must contain some kind of positive charge also. So scientists started performing many experiments. So and Goldstein was the one to successfully perform the experiment, and his experiment is known as anode rays. So proton was discovered by Goldstein, and the experiment is known as anode rays. So this was the apparatus which he placed properly. So it had a glass tube. There were two metal sheets, metal plates. It were connected to wires. There was a battery in between. The negative part was connected. The negative part was connected to a plate, and that plate is nothing but cathode. So cathode are negative and the positive ones are called as anode. Now remember this thing, cathode had hole in it. So for anode rays, for the experiment performed by Goldstein, cathode had hole in between. So all the rays from cathode used to pass to anode, but also the rays from anode used to pass towards cathode. And there was a screen in which all the protons used to strike, and this screen used to glow. To confirm that these are to confirm that these are positive charged particles, he placed a plate, a negative plate on top of it, okay, which is negatively charged. So all these protons used to get attracted towards that plate, and this is how he got to know that these charged particles are nothing but positive charged particles, and those are protons. So this is how it was discovered. So this is how electrons and protons were discovered. Anode and cathode, yeah. So those are the two things which you can study about this. Of course, now if you try to understand this, first we got to know that atoms are neutral, so this kind of structure was accepted. So this is the structure of atoms. But now this atom has negative charged particles as well as positive charged particles. So now you should think that how can we structure this atom, or what will be the structure of this atom, how will the electrons be placed inside this atom, how will be the protons placed inside these atoms. And I have discussed about one more subatomic particles. Of course we have not studied about it, but we know that there are neutrons also. So how all these three subatomic particles are actually placed inside this atom is a very very important question which you should ask yourself. And also the scientists asked themselves after these positive charged particles were discovered, and we are going to learn about it in our next live session. Of course, please try to understand this. Anodes are positive and cathodes are negative. Okay, so this was about it. This was all about our today's topic. So let me just place the first screen once again. So structure of atoms, and we studied about introduction to atoms and also charges in atoms. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you guys. If you have any doubt, please type it in the chat box. Okay guys, please type it in the chat box if you have any kind of doubt. Come on guys. And of course, if you have understood this topic, you can also write down understood, so that I get to know if you have understood it properly or not. Okay. So Goldstein was the one who discovered. Try to understand this. No problem, Deepak. Don't. It's no need to worry. Actually, you can just go through all the live session. Actually, you can just go through the live session once again, and don't forget to press the reminders. Actually, if you have the reminders set, it's really very easy to attend the live sessions. Actually, and it's fun. Actually, learning together in a live session. So I'll just once again clear the doubt. Actually, there are some doubts in the comment section. So Goldstein was the one. Goldstein was the one to discover protons. J.J. Thomson was the one to discover electrons. Okay, so those are two different people, and those are two different charges. So electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson. Proton was discovered by Goldstein. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. It was really a nice session, and I hope this story is actually very interesting. Actually, this whole discovering wala part and all. So I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Don't worry, just press the bell icon, and all those who are new to this channel, do press the bell icon on. Actually, do press the subscribe button and also the bell icon, so that you never miss an update from us. Also, and once more about our yeah, website actually. So we have a website in which we have amazing videos about math as well as science. So the link is about www.letstute.com. So you can find some amazing videos over there, and you can just check the links in the in the chat box, or maybe in the description. You'll just find the links, and there are various links there. uh, Deepak, we haven't covered about the isotopes. You will have to be connected to us. Actually, we will discuss all the topics. We will discuss about all the topics in our upcoming video. So this session was all about the introduction and also how the charges were discovered. Okay. No, no. Thomson performed his experiment successfully and he discovered electrons. Yeah, there were many scientists whose experiment did fail, but these were the two scientists who successfully discovered these charged particles. Yeah. So I hope that's very clear to you guys. Of course. Okay. So no problem, guys. I hope you enjoyed this session. So it was great having a session for you guys. Okay. So bye, guys. Have a nice day, and that's it for this video. Of course, don't forget to subscribe us and press the bell icon. Actually. Yep. Stay tuned, guys. Chalo, bye. Catch you guys later. Bye.